This right here is the 2024 Hyundai Kona Electric, and it is one of the best values in the EV world today. Here's what I like about this battery-powered crossover, and a few things I don't. Alrighty, not to start off on the wrong foot, but one aspect of the Kona Electric that I actually don't really care for is the exterior design. And no, this is not an unattractive vehicle, but it is fairly busy, and I'm not sure it's going to age all that well. And of course, that's just my opinion, so if you disagree, you are welcome to do that. What we are testing here is the top shelf limited model, and of course this sits above the base SE and the mid-range SEL model, so of course they sent us the fancy one for review. While we're up front here, I will say we've got this lovely LED strip that runs right across the face of the Kona Electric. It's distinctive, and I think it looks pretty nice. Beyond that, we've got active grille shutters down here in the lower bumper, which of course help improve aerodynamics. You get airflow for cooling when needed, and those can close up when you don't need that cooling to help improve airflow around the vehicle. The Kona Electric also has standard all LED exterior lighting, LED lamps all around the vehicle, which are very power efficient and should provide plenty of light at night. Also, while we're right up front here, Hyundai engineers put the charging port in just about the perfect location right here on the front fascia, so it's super easy to access. You pull right up to your charging stall and boom, you can plug in very easily. This of course is a standard CCS port. You've seen one, you've seen them all, no surprises there. Though this car does work with the Hyundai Group's V2L adapter, that is vehicle to load. You plug that into the port here and it puts out up to 1.7 kilowatts of power through a standard household outlet, so you can run all kinds of things, heating pads or a fan if you're out camping, stuff like that. Very nice to have that amenity. Moving along the side, this vehicle does have 17-inch alloy wheels, a fairly attractive design. And it's kind of funny, 17 inches for wheels is pretty tiny these days. I mean, I tested the Silverado EV not too long ago, and I think that thing rolled on gargantuan 24s. Nobody needs 24s. I actually like a smaller wheel because you get more tire sidewall for a better ride, and of course you're less likely to damage the rim if you do hit a big pothole. So smaller wheels, in my opinion, are the better choice. The Kona Electric also comes standard with heated side view mirrors and a body-colored trim piece on the top that matches the exterior paint very nicely for a good, cohesive look. This vehicle also has pronounced diamond faceting in the side of the body, much like other Hyundai models. Extremely distinctive, but this is an aspect of the design that I'm not sure will age all that well. It looks pretty good right now, but in 10 or 20 years, maybe not so much. Anyway, moving further rearward, just like the front of the Kona Electric, we've got a very pronounced LED strip, pixelated of course. It runs right across the back hatch of this vehicle, and I think that looks very nice. Now, while I am standing back here, one element of the Kona Electric that I absolutely love is the versatility. If I pop the hatch here, it should motor open all on its own just like that, revealing a very generous cargo space. You get about 25.5 cubic feet of room with the rear backrests up. However, if you fold those down, that number increases to just shy of 64 cubic feet, which is a surprising amount of room inside what is a relatively small crossover. Additionally, you also get 0.95 cubic feet of space in the front trunk underneath the hood. It's not a lot of room, but it is enough to stash maybe the charging cable, but not much else. Still, that is very nice to have. And the Kona Electric here, surprisingly versatile. Next up, the Kona Electric has some pretty impressive specs, which I really like. You know, this is one of the more affordable EVs available in the US today. We'll cover pricing in just a minute, but just because you're not paying a lot doesn't mean you aren't getting a lot with the Kona Electric. So the base SE version of the Kona Electric has a 48.6 kilowatt hour battery pack that gets you an estimated 200 miles of range, which honestly is not all that much. I wish the entry-level version of this vehicle could go farther on a charge, but if you do need more miles, you can step up to the SEL or limited trims, both of which have a 64.8 kilowatt hour pack that will get you an EPA estimated 261 miles on a charge, which of course is a much much nicer figure. And if you do want to step up from that entry-level SE trim to the SEL to get that additional range, it's going to cost you about $4,000. When it comes to DC fast charging, this vehicle should top out at 100 kilowatts, which in 2024 is honestly a pretty weak performance, and it's something I dislike about the Kona Electric. These days, 150 kilowatts of DC fast charging performance is practically the industry standard, and of course, some cars, including the Hyundai Group's own eGMP-based products, will do better than 200 kilowatts while DC fast charging, so 100 is pretty weak, though it's not the end of the world. This thing should be able to go from 10 to 80% in about 43 minutes, so just plan on a little bit longer charging stops if you're out on a road trip. The Kona Electric's thoughtful interior is another thing to like. Now, this cabin is not fancy, and in fact, nearly everything is made of hard plastic, but nothing in here looks cheap or feels flimsy. All of the plastics are nicely grained. We've got soft fabric inserts on the door panels here. Additionally, this vehicle comes standard with not one, but two 12.3-inch screens up here on the dashboard. Of course, we've got a touch panel here on the center stack that runs an excellent infotainment system that is very responsive, it's intuitive, and it also supports wireless Android Auto as well as Apple CarPlay, which is always a good thing. You've got over-the-air software update functionality. There's a built-in Wi-Fi hotspot as well. Additionally, this vehicle has tons of USB ports, so everyone's mobile devices can be fully juiced, and there's dual-zone climate control, which is a premium feature. Further elevating the experience, this vehicle has a stock-mounted gear selector, just like the eGMP-based cars. It sprouts out from the steering column right here, and this looks a little bit weird at first, but I'll tell you, after 10 or 15 minutes of driving, it quickly becomes second nature. I think this is a great solution for picking which gear you want. Beyond that, the Kona Electric has some vibrant sort of neon green accents up on the dashboard. We've got a little bit here on the steering wheel spoke, and then even on the little paddles you use to adjust the air vents, they've added a spear of that bright work as well to just give it a little bit of pop, to sort of elevate the experience inside this small but very affordable crossover. And of course, this vehicle's back seat is fantastic as well. It has more than enough room for 6-foot-tall passengers, both headroom and legroom. The back bench is also very comfortable, and the backrest back there, it even adjusts. But another thing I don't really like about this vehicle is right here. These front seats remind me of something you would get in a GM vehicle, and that is not a compliment. These chairs are very firm, they're very flat, they're very broad, and I just don't find them supportive or very comfortable at all. But at least this one power adjusts in 8 different directions, plus SE and SEL models do come standard with heated front seats, and this limited trim even has ventilation, which, I'll be honest, is pretty nice. Alrighty, on the road, we talked about some speeds and feeds a little bit earlier, things like charging capacity and range, but now let's cover driving performance, and of course, it's another thing that I really like about the Kona Electric. This vehicle, of course, is front-wheel drive only, so if you do live in the snow belt, make sure you invest in a good set of winter tires, and you should have no trouble getting around. SEL and limited versions of this vehicle have 201 horsepower and 188 pound-feet of torque, and that delivers some surprising acceleration. Now, no, this is obviously not the quickest EV ever built, but the performance is shockingly good despite those, on paper at least, relatively low output numbers. Now, if you do opt for the entry-level SE version of the Kona Electric, you've got a good bit less horsepower, just 133 ponies in the stable, though you do get the same 188 pounds of torque. The steering in this vehicle is light and crisp, and it makes the Kona Electric feel extremely agile and almost vibrant. This crossover is surprisingly fun to toss in a corner, which is not something I expected for an EV, especially one in this price class. As for the braking, it is very smooth, the pedal is easy to modulate as well, and of course, just like other Hyundai electric models, you've got a pair of paddles up here on the steering wheel that allow you to very quickly and easily adjust how aggressive the regenerative braking is. So I've got it in I-pedal right now, which is Hyundai's equivalent of a one-pedal driving mode. You lift off, the vehicle slows down very aggressively, but if you don't like that, it's super easy to just click the other paddle here to put it in 0, so there's almost no regen. Whatever you want, it's super easy to do. Now, the ride quality here is moderately firm, but overall it's very well controlled. As we saw earlier with those fairly small 17-inch wheels, you do get a generous amount of tire sidewall, which of course helps to smother out roadway imperfections. I mean, not every vehicle needs gigantic 22-inch wheels, right? Now, overall, I would also say there's a little bit more harshness in this Hyundai than you get in some of the eGMP-based vehicles, but of course, this thing is significantly more affordable. So that's an important factor to consider as well. Now, interior noise levels are a little bit elevated. You do get some wind rush over the top of this vehicle, and a bit of tire ruckus does make its way up from the roadway surface. These sounds are noticeable, but I'll tell you, they're not objectionable. Overall, this Hyundai Kona Electric is really quite refined. As I alluded to earlier, the Hyundai Kona Electric is a great value, which is something I really like about this vehicle. And even though I've been testing the top shelf limited trim, this thing only checks out for $42,630, including $1,375 in destination fees, as well as $210 for carpeted floor mats. Now, as for the entry-level SE trim, that one goes for just about $34 grand with delivery, which is a tremendous deal, though unfortunately, this Hyundai is not eligible for any federal tax credits. But even with that entry-level trim, you still get loads of standard equipment. Beyond what I've already mentioned, this thing comes with amenities like blind spot monitoring, rear cross traffic alert, automatic high beams, lane keeping assist, and even adaptive cruise control with stop and go capability. Now, to quickly recap, here's what I like and dislike about the 2024 Hyundai Kona Electric. This small crossover offers a surprisingly generous amount of cargo space. The vehicle's fundamental specifications are strong. The interior is nicely done. The driving performance is good. And this Hyundai is a great value. As for downsides, I don't really love the Kona's exterior styling, but that's just my opinion. The front seats are too flat and firm for my taste. More range in the base SE model would sure be nice. And I wish this crossover DC fast charged just a little bit quicker. And there you have it, a quick overview of the Kona Electric in top shelf limited trim. You know, this crossover isn't quite as good as the Hyundai Motor Group's own eGMP-based models, but you still get solid range, very good performance, a roomy interior, and loads of standard equipment, all at a very affordable price point, which makes the Kona Electric a fantastic EV value. Next up, check out my full review of the Hyundai Ioniq 5N by clicking right over here. This ultra high performance EV has features you cannot get on any other electric vehicle today.